Hello, Internet, and welcome back to Rail Survival, a Space Engineers series that is getting increasingly more complex as I try to essentially build automated rail vehicles from scratch. Alright, so I'm just finishing up, grinding down a lot of my hard work because I realized I think I need to start over. Or not start over, but I need to do different things, and I think it's going to be easier if I go about doing things on one locomotive thingy, one, ore transporter, and then moving that over to other stuff in the future. So I called everything back. This was the magnesium train, silicon was here. The extra iron, survived the best out of everything. So I think I'm going to use it as my base. And I do also have the nickel one still out there, but the nickel car is weird, so I kind of want to leave it be. But I have some ideas. My goal here is to fix the issue with stuff, the train's crashing into things and generally just behaving poorly. So, yeah. Ooh. Cut a few of these guys apart now. They actually come apart pretty easy. I wasn't sure, how much of it was going to drop away, but as you can see, you can kind of get it down to just this last little bit without all that much issue. Oh. Just one little chunk left to remove. Alright. So with that done, let's go set these guys correctly. Not that it super matters, but, well, it does matter if I accidentally drive the train off the track. I do have a fair bit of room to test it, just kind of right in here. And I think... Okay. Right, so I kind of had to nudge it to get it to come forward, and as you can see, it's not quite in the orientation you'd want it. Let's get some juice. So, a couple of things on this guy. It may start trying to move when I unlock it here. Well, we should have enough room to do that. So... switch lock. Nope, I think it got confused. Remote control, yeah. There we go. Control it and trigger stop. So none of that's separate, it'll be easier to work with. I may actually get some bits. I can do that here. Okay. Perfect. Just like having some access so I'm not wasting jetpack fuel. So first thing I want to check. Yeah. So I had an idea for how I could make braking work better. The gist of it, it's sort of the opposite of when you set up a rover in Space Engineers, how you want to set up the brakes. So part of my issue is when the brake applies, it's a hard stop application, and so as the wheel sort of comes to a halt, the train lurches. Generally... Right, so... Hold on. Let's watch it and just see what happens. Control U, so if I trigger it backwards, you can see the back end lifts up a bit as it kicks off, and the front end lifts as it brakes. So off it goes. Right, it's sort of like a pendulum, so as it stops, it wants to swing that way. I think what might help with the braking is if I actually don't brake the wheels that are sort of going... the wheels on the back end for whatever direction it's moving. So the first step of this is going to be... drive reel... rev right. Can I... I was hoping maybe I could see it through the thing. So this is rev left. I should be able to see these guys. This will be forward left, and last but not least, drive wheel forward right. So my idea here is I should now be able to fairly easily turn braking on and off on those wheels in my sort of thingies. So if we do forward, yeah, if we're going forward, I want the reverse wheels not to brake. Annoyingly, there's no separation. It's either yes or no. I don't get why... I mean, I think it's just to save space, but why we don't have a breakout for each one of these. Because it really is very useful for this sort of thing. Okay. So that's that. Yeah. It's in the forward direction. So, of course, I don't actually have that control easily in build vision. So if we disable brake on the reverse wheels, allow it on the forward ones as it's going forward. Let's see. It'll be kind of hard to test this given it's so light and given it's over such a short distance. But if it kind of lurches less, that's a good sign. So go. I see our issue. Hold on. I didn't turn them back on anywhere. So all the braking stayed off. Okay. So forward. So I just need to toggle on all of them, and they just need to be inverted for whatever situation is going on. So honestly, that's not great, but I think that's the best we're gonna get. So okay, forward's off, reverse is on. I set it that direction. Maybe. Okay. So that plan may be a bust. Changing the brakes doesn't actually seem to fix anything. Did it at the very least. No, I think it's all confused. Okay. Well, if that didn't work... let's make sure each of these has brake on it. If that didn't work, let's go... I think I may just go with Plan B. Plan B isn't all that graceful, but I think it should help a bit. So Plan B is just essentially slap some 1x1 wheels in here to serve as little buffers. So when it lurches forward, it'll tap those before it damages, well, the important bits. We'll just set these to have 0 friction. Let's not get ahead of ourselves and accidentally lop off half of the thing. There we go. More drain buffer reels. 0 friction. Let's go full strength. Yeah. Maybe we go 50% strength. Be a little safer. But that should provide enough of a stop that these things won't, completely destroy themselves. So now, see, that's that. I had another idea to handle something that, it's probably about time to admit, this isn't the first go-round I've had at recording this, but the other time I got so confused and annoyed that I decided to just, it wasn't gonna be any good, and so I'm redoing everything I did there in a more concise way. But another issue that happens when these things are full is they can get going very quickly. That helps cause them to crash into these things. You'll notice, well, you may have noticed, I've noticed, when we're going sort of, empty to the end stations, oftentimes they don't even reach the end because they're so light. But they don't have the crashing problem. The crashing only really happens when they're fully loaded. And I think to help with that, I have another system. For which I will, nope. I'll need some computey bits. So there is also the issue of it detecting these. And I think the best course of action for that, show sensor field range. I think the best solution is just going to be pulling the sensors back further. which I don't love because it does mean they are closer to the edge of things when they sense, but may be able to get away with 5. And I kind of want to raise the bottom extent up. 5 I think is technically fine, but well, it's going to be fine because it's a subgrid. .5. That should mean that it connects with its connector before it could trigger with these guys. Let's go ahead and gonna trigger stop. That should, when I disconnect, send us off again. In fact, does... Yeah, so this is our docking event connector. Which, if either of those are ready to lock, it locks them. That seems to work. And it does trigger TB stop. For some weird reason, it doesn't always seem to actually go through. Because it should, if it's happened, the event controller should be sleepy. Okay. Well, let's see if it actually departs when I do this. Yep. Oh, that's something I wanted to do that I could have done before. Stop you. Bring it back. We'll stop it kind of at our little ramp thingy. So another potential issue is with the lurching. I think I drop the power down even lower on these guys. I think that's going to be an improvement. And with that done, okay, how do I implement this thing? So basically, the issue that occurs, well, the issue I ran into, I was testing whether or not I could control braking by just turning off the propulsion override. The issue with that system, when you turn off propulsion override, it will potentially slow you down if you're relatively flat, but if you're on a slope, you can still be accelerating, and with propulsion override in Space Engineers, once you exceed the override, the wheels won't do anything to bring themselves back. They won't try and like slow down. So if you turn off propulsion override, start coasting down a hill and end up going even quicker than your speed limit, when you turn your propulsion override back on, you're just going to accelerate faster, and you're just in free fall at that point. You're just going. Actually saying that, the plan I was about to enact probably won't work either then. What I was going to try and do is have event controllers to shut off the propulsion override if you get going too quickly. Maybe... Okay, hold on. Could I do... Oh. So, another note of Wheels and Space Engineers, when you're moving in one direction, if you set the velocity to the other, it acts as a brake. Could I build an automated braking system into these? This is getting to the point where I may have to get rid of the nickel car and just rebuild the reverser button, because there's a lot of changes going on. So, okay. Let's think through first. What scenarios do I need it to slow down in? Ideally, it would slow itself if it is over a certain speed. And could I set something up? I may have just had an idea that could... So we'll still need the handbrake. But I may be able to apply sort of slower brakes before it triggers. Okay. So I have an extra timer block here. Oh, this is another thing I discovered. So you'll note, my propulsion override, I control all 4 wheels. I changed that. Originally I just controlled 2, but I don't stop those. So, forward and reverse left I control, but I need to set forward and reverse right to actually go to 0 override. So with that, what I'm thinking here, so if on this timer block, instead of setting these to 0, there is a reverse. No, there's no reverse propulsion override. Okay. That changes things then. So if I applied a reverse propulsion override, I could slow things down, but to do that, I'm going to need a stop for each direction. I could, I guess, if I added one more timer block here. I could do that. Okay, so I'm thinking through the logic of this. So, if I have the ability to apply sort of a reverse velocity brake, I can turn that on really shortly before stop occurs. That would slow things down in such a way that hopefully it doesn't lurch as much, and I could use them. I could actually increase... Yeah, I mean, I could increase the detection range of my thing, but then I have to sort of get timing accurate to get it to stop. If I were to increase the sensor range back again to where it detects small grids sort of past the connector, I'd then almost be coasting into it. Okay, but I think this will work. I'm going to add one more timer block up here, and then An event control. Might need 2 event controllers. You know what? For evenness, we'll add 3 and see where we get. So we have a slow forward and slow reverse. These guys. Yeah, so hold on, where am I? So forward, left is positive, right is negative. So forward here, I want left to be -10. Right to be +10. And then I do the reverse of that. So by only applying 10% propulsion override in the opposite direction, I'm hoping it won't, you know, quickly reverse me, but it will cause a slowdown that is then useful. Though, do I even need the timer blocks? We'll hold on to those, but it may actually be easier because I'm realizing I'm gonna need to set them back at some point. So I'll set up the forward directions on this these event controllers, and we'll see if it makes enough sense to change what we're doing here. So what I need to be doing with these is watching, oh, it landed right on it. Watching grid speed changed. So, let's say 8 meters a second. I can't remember what 16 kilometers or 10 kilometers an hour is in meters per second. But I think generally it only gets up to like 2. So actually, let's go 5. So, if our speed is equal or greater than 5 meters a second, I can probably control all of this with just, it'll be 4 event controllers, which isn't great. But I think I need 2 event controllers because I want the trigger times to occur at different times. So, okay. If we go over 5 meters a second, going forward, forward is left positive. So, -10, -10, -10, and 10. So that should, if we exceed 5 meters per second, I set my propulsion override to go the opposite direction at 10% instead of 100%. Then, oh no, that was just debris causing me to be red. I could eat my stew. Alright, anyway. So, to end the slow forward, grid speed change, if we're equal or less than, let's say 3 meters a second. I can always go through and adjust these values to change where we kind of run at. But if we get down to 3 meters a second, actually, I don't think this is as good a thing as I was thinking. So the issue here, equal or less than this, I was about to set it to, it sets it at full move, but it's currently less than this, so it means whenever I stop, I would be triggering full move, which means I'd have to have a third event controller to turn this off if we were below a certain speed. So I think what we may do instead, I'm gonna commit to this, so slice that out. Hopefully I didn't just get rid of the one I'd set up, but so 2 event controllers can reset that timer block. And cool. Slow forward is one I already set up. So I can just set these to set these to toggle back and forth at 5 meters a second, which might get a little janky, but it should hold us there at a maximum speed of 5. Which is hopefully slow enough not to do any damage. So even if we end up going pretty quick, we'll always slow down because of the minus 10% as opposed to just turning them off. We'll always be slowing down if we aren't accelerating, but it shouldn't be that bad of a thing, and we can toggle these on and off in different situations to keep them from behaving. Alright, now just a quick sanity check to make sure. Yep. Positive on the left, negative on the right is what constitutes forward. So, now, with those event controllers, I want slow forward to be on when I'm going forward and slow rev to be off. When I'm going in reverse, it's the opposite. And then when I stop, I toggle both of them off, which shouldn't matter, but it'll just be a little sanity check to make sure they're always correct. Okay. That is now set up. I guess let's see if it can dock here without crashing. So that slower max propulsion speed may help. Okay.
Energy low.
Success there. Though it did do some damage. Let's send this off. Stop it here.
Energy low.
I'm curious how... One, we're gonna ram it back in again and see if it does more damage. So, we're doing about 3 meters a second.
Energy low.
It's all good that time. So maybe there was some existing damage from a bump.
Energy low.
Let's get our juices.
Energy critical.
And energy's back. Then I guess we need to send this Yeah, we might as well send us back to the iron and fill it back up and see what it does. And I have the power to launch these things from here. Alright. And I guess we should take a quick nap and maybe follow it on its journey. I'm sure it'll wait for us. Okay. Let's go catch up. Yeah. Didn't make it too far at all. Yeah, so 10 kph seems to be about 2.8, 2.9 meters a second. That's not too bad. Uh-oh. Let's fill up on bottles. And I should probably, while I'm doing this... well, I can't tell the nickel train to come. I just have to... Well, I can, just not with the buttons. So... reverse... Okay, it's on its way. And the handbrake went on. Why did the handbrake go on? Oh, I think I know. It's because it stopped because it was sensing a thing, so it just left a sensor. No, because leaving a sensor range shouldn't start it moving. Yeah. Oh. Oh, and spiders are attacking. We'll deal with that in a minute. I just wanna... no, I think we can. I want to catch that. There's a section of track where I know that car is going to go a lot quicker. And I want to see if I can... I think the spiders have entered the tower. Again. Let's go over here and maybe they'll follow me. Oh. Okay, and as it turns out, we got meteor striked. I'm honestly not 100% sure why I decided meteors were the right move for this adventure. And we'll have to get with that later. Okay, you. What's your behavior? So it still wants to be going forward. But our timer block has triggered stop for some reason. So I told it to go in reverse, which should have turned the handbrake off. So maybe the handbrake wasn't on. Because it didn't actually dock? I don't know. But it stopped, so it should have been. Oh. Well, you know what? Part of it'll be... Well, you know what, too? Part of it'll be that, but I don't really care because this guy's probably gonna get gone soon. So... send it on its way. I think it's gonna be easier for me to just get rid of that than... fix it and remake it in the same technique as the new car. Which, speaking of, I believe this is the area we start to get going quick. Maybe, maybe not. Well, no, this isn't going to magnesium, so it's not going down that hill. I think the real test will probably be when it's loaded up anyway, so until then, we'll let it do its thing. Nickel's coming in. See if there are any spiders left to deal with. Doesn't look it. Can do some of our daily tasks here. And I am wondering, maybe it's not a bad idea to set up some point defense guns along the rail, specifically to shoot down meteors. Because I have steady magnesium now, so I can do that. It would mean manually going out and restocking them. I could even, if I wanted to get creative, I could set up an automated system so that when they run out of ammo, they light up to alert me that they need help. I assume these things are still doing good for ice. Oh, yeah. That's good. Got a new crop in. I should probably make some food. It is kind of an interesting thing because of the sort of built-in delay of... the nickel car's stopped again. Because of the built-in delay of waiting for these guys to do things, I do kind of end up with... Oh! No, the nickel car found... Okay, I definitely need to set up some, defense guns. Dang it. Okay. Oh, well. I know where I can get some steel, since I don't have any. I suppose we should get the truck to salvage that guy. Where... Is iron... Is it actually set to go to iron? I think I did. Yeah. It's just trundling along. It's close enough. Let's make sure it doesn't hurt itself docking down here. It's coming in. It's moving pretty quick. But no damage. I think the settings are, at least when empty, the settings are good. Now, good thing I came over here because I need to set it back to load. Which, did that work? Yes. My signs didn't switch though. Why? I also don't have... I kind of need to... well, I can access remotely. I don't have anywhere to stand on it, given the buffers are there. You know what? It's loading. That's good enough. I'm just gonna leave it and deal with the other thing. Hopefully it'll be near full by the time I get done with this. I guess I should be keeping an eye on the track to make sure it's all good in between here and there. Now, okay, so any nickel that was in it is gone. Probably for the best, because if it had a full load of nickel, I couldn't do anything with it.
Inventory full.
Wasn't any... No. If there was a little box of it, it's long destroyed. Alright. That is that. I'll just do a visual on this particular spur of track. All looking good so far. And I guess partially just to use, you know, all the cool things I've got. I should load up the, rail welding guy. A little bit of steel and then a bunch of stuff for, point defense turrets. Now, I do need... Yeah, need to tell this... Okay, ammo. Let's make... 150 magazines. See how close we get to that. Let's see. Right. Okay, why isn't iron loading over there? Because that should be the... Put stuff in... Oh, nope, I see the issue. Both of them are on. Okay. That's my issue, is this is the wrong sorter. There we go. Look at that. That's almost one full container. Which means we're, well, halfway there, and I don't know where halfway was because it wasn't actually even loading. Alright. Full of magazines. Is that always open? I can't remember. I'm gonna assume it is. It was. I'm also going to assume that I want my switches actually set to get me where I need to go. So I'll go all the way out to the end, weld up those last little, well, those bits I had to repair. I don't know exactly the range on Gatling turrets, or interior turrets rather. But I figure yeah, we're on cruise. I figure it's I'm gonna need quite a few along this stretch. It might even be one per pillar. Then maybe I'll get lucky. Okay. That should be all of that. We'll build our first defense turret down here and then see what we're looking like. Go. Anti-rock turret. Yeah, so 600 meters is the maximum distance. Don't target any ships. I suppose it can target characters. Then if any errant spiders wander by, they'll be wiped out. Put 5 in there. Hopefully that's enough. Now, what I'm gonna do is create a GPS there. And then, okay, so 600 meters is pretty good. Will they be able to hit anything at that range? Who knows? But let's actually set that going so it'll meet me. But yeah, if that's about 400 meters, I should be able to keep marking, and then kind of every 400 meters or so, slap us down a thingy. Well, so that's 4 turrets out that way, which should be enough coverage to hopefully keep that line safe. What are we looking like now for iron? Okay, that's probably one of the things on the locomotive. And that's the other that's full. It's gonna be a minute. Now, I can't remember. Yeah, these do target meteors. I just don't think I have great line of sight. I kind of put this in here, which isn't necessary, but it feels good. Be another turret up here. It will be blocked by the control tower, but that's a little bit more stuff going on. And come to think of it, okay, cool. I do have access all the way to the nickel. Guess I could have also checked. I can see the nickel drill, so everything is repaired out through there. Kind of want all these guys. I had them targeting characters, but maybe not. The spiders can't hurt the infrastructure, only me. But the meteors hurt everyone, so hopefully that'll help give a little bit of coverage out that way at least. I kind of want to go on. I also kind of want to check on the iron and see if the iron guy is done. Stock up on stuff and do that. Alrighty. Let's see. So, haha! Full and full. Alright. I could have, I guess, checked this from back there, couldn't I have? At the very least, we can launch it. Yeah, we'll do it from here. I want to follow this thing. That's kind of the main thing I've been waiting on, is I want to follow this thing and make sure it can handle a full load. Okay. Bit of a lurch to start, but we're off. Don't know if I can hide out up here. I don't think I can. So let's... Ow. Yep. I'm now on the ground. There we go. Head back to Command HQ. Make sure all the switches are actually switched. Right, yep. Iron. Goes into the yard. We might as well send it down to yard 1. Yeah, now I can watch. Though this doesn't tell me speed. So, back we go again. It feels excessive, but the truth in the matter is this isn't actually that far of a distance, so... We are... Okay, so we're tickling 5 meters a second. And actually... Okay. Terminal. Are we... Yeah, look at that. I don't know if this doesn't seem great, but it does mean we're holding at 5 meters a second. It wants to be going faster and it's not allowed to. That seems like a good sign. Because I think that's been the biggest sort of opportunity for damage, is when the cars start sort of going in a free fall and then, you know, hit a corner, they slow down, but it's very lurchy and jerky and they can bang into stuff. And this should be good, and hopefully it means... I don't know if 5 meters a second is too fast, but hopefully it means even if it's kind of going at full tilt when it arrives at its destination, hopefully it'll be slow enough that it's kind of slowed by other stuff ambiently. This should also help with the areas like, I think it was silicon, that line over there, and also the magnesium where I had to put a sort of emergency braking thing. In theory, this will keep it at 5 meters a second down that slope. Because if it wants to accelerate quicker, it's going to have a constantly applied braking force. So, okay, now that we've seen that working, we can maybe continue wasting our hydrogen by not taking the train out, but I feel like I can get... Okay, so... I get a guy in here. I am excited for the next meteor shower to just hear the sound of machine guns in the distance. And this one's probably a little close, actually, but... should be good. Okay, and... yeah, Iron Train still seems to be moving along happily. Now, something I do want to see, and hopefully this isn't a mistake, I kind of feel I need to know if... yeah, that should be sensible. I need to know if it actually is able to stop in time. So, yeah. Just in case. We'll make a blueprint. That way I can at least print off a new one that has all the changes I've made. Okay. Is it, with the shortened sensor range and full weight, able to stop in time? Yes, it is. And most importantly, it's not rolled through the sensor, which is also a thing that could happen. So it should take off here in a moment. There we go. Yeah, I think because even with less power on the wheels, it still lurches a bit. Just because wheels are powerful things. I think those buffer bits will really... They just give a little bit of, you know, a little bit of something to keep that from being such a damaging event. There's a little bit of cushion there. I think that's going to help everything out. Okay, so this should be a good test too, because we're dancing around 5 meters a second. The toggle thingy is going to be doing its thing. But we should see if it survives this connecting without damage, which, that looks too quick. Yeah. Okay. Wasn't enough to break anything, which is good, but it did do damage, which means that's not sustainable. Which means, well, no, I'm not going to unload it, actually, because then I lose my ability to test. Send it backwards a bit. Stop it. Let's go in here. Okay, so I just did a quick check. 10 kph is about 2.7 repeating meters per second. So about 3. If I go back up, if I set the threshold on these event controllers to 3, let's see if that is enough. Because that's pretty much what it's at now. Yeah, and it didn't do damage. So that's the max speed of these things, which isn't great, but I could try and figure out ways to make them quicker. I don't think it's going to help us much. Let's real quick, one more time. Send it out just so I can take a blueprint with that situation. Forward once more. No damage. And we can unload even more iron. And that's where we're going to call it for today. Oh boy. This has been a lot of, well, a lot of everything you just saw. Fiddly, messing with things and fine-tuning. But this feels pretty good. I think we're at a point now where hopefully we can just go with this. I do need to put in the reverser system and probably some various other things I think I forgot. But we'll hopefully get that done pretty quick. Print off a bunch more and actually finally get this whole system working. I do want to throw in too, because it's been brought up several times in comments. So the original plan had talked about doing a real long train line to a surface-based trade station, which I may or may not have checked if it actually exists. I can't remember. But that was sort of plan A. I don't think that's plan A any longer. Mainly because it's just gonna be a lot. We're already kind of taxing what the game can do and all the issues with like placement and the weird bugs where sometimes things don't just trigger like they should. That sort of thing is going to get worse and worse the more we try and basically the more grids we put in the world, the further away they go. It just compounds. It would be cool, but I have another better idea that I think is going to be enjoyable. I'm not going to spoil it just yet, but I will say it is a train adjacent. It is something that is pretty classic Space Engineers, but it's something I have never actually done. So yeah, ponder with that what you will. And while you do, thank you everybody so much for watching. Feel free to check out the other stuff I've done, and until next week, bye-bye. That wind turbine came in just the wrong time.